Hello and welcome to Cut Through the Noise. Cut Through the Noise is the podcast that helps business leaders increase sales through elevated communications and marketing. I'm your host, Aisling O'Rourke, founder of The Communications Coach, based here in the Republic of Ireland. I work with business leaders who want to communicate with clarity, credibility, confidence, and of course, authenticity. And I am so glad to bring you another episode here of the podcast. In this season of Cut Through the Noise, we're focusing in on women in business in particular and the communication tools that you need to thrive in 2026. This season is all about helping you set solid communication foundations. Today, I want to bring two ideas together. It's about communicating value, not just price, and scaling your communication as you grow from a solo founder to a thought leader. Because here's the truth. If you cannot confidently communicate your value, you're going to struggle to price yourself properly. And if you cannot clearly communicate your vision, you'll struggle to lead. So let's begin today with value. And it's the unfortunate truth of the situation is that many women underprice their work because we fixate on cost, competitor pricing, or what feels reasonable rather than the actual value that we provide. Value-based pricing flips that approach. Harvard Business School professor Felix Oberhauser-Guy explains that value for the customer equals to their appreciation of your product or service minus what they pay. The value stick framework, therefore, shows that when you raise a customer's willingness to pay or reduce costs, you increase the total value created. So price simply determines how that value is shared between you and your customer. So in practice, that means focusing in on your messaging on outcomes and not hourly rates. And that's the trap that we fall into. B2B sales research also shows that value selling approaches shorten sales cycles because buyers, well, they understand the decisions faster. Okay? They understand the return on investment and they can say yes much more quickly. Value selling also builds loyalty because it aligns with your solution to the buyer's real needs. So then, how do we communicate value clearly? And this is a problem that many of us face. First, we have to understand the problem. It's not just a surface issue, but the cost of the issue. Is it lost revenue, lost time, or missed opportunities, low confidence in leadership even? Then we have to articulate the outcome. Replace features with results. Instead of talking about how many sessions you offer, talk about the transformation that will be created as a result of the work you do together. The contract secured, presentation delivered with confidence, the clarity that leads to better decisions. Use proof. Authentic reviews significantly increase conversion rates. And yes, I'm going to say testimonials again in this series, but they're so very important. They reduce perceived risk and reinforce credibility. They're not vanity assets. Remember that. A testimonial is not about, polishing your ego. It's actual proof that you can do what you say you can do. The other thing then is about communicating during that sales conversation. We need to ask better questions. We need to find out what the goal is. What's the timeline? What's the cost of inaction? When you discuss price, frame it relative to the value delivered. An investment of X generates Y in return. Make it all the more tangible for the potential client that you are dealing with. It's not about being expensive, it's about being strategic. One thing that I think many will suffer with is around discounting to close a deal, particularly during seasonal sales times. But if budget is an issue, adjust the scope or timing, not your worth. So if budget is an issue, ask what is the budget? Okay, that's the budget. Do you know what? Give me 24 hours. Let me see what I can do within that budget. It might mean reducing some of the work I can offer. I'll come back to you in 24 hours' time with a timeline. As your business grows, your role will evolve. You move from delivering a service to perhaps leading a team of people or being known as a thought leader publicly. The same principles apply, however. We have to think about communication and leadership communication in particular as a bridge between our vision and the execution of that service. Okay. So when we think about it, we have to really connect the dots for ourselves, for our team, for the clients at the end of the day. The Centre for Creative Leadership defines it as the ability to inform and inspire others through verbal, non-verbal and written messages. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But basically, clear communication builds trust, creativity and innovation. It builds credibility for you, your brand and your business. And that's what you need in order to succeed in business. If you cannot clearly communicate the value of your work to your clients, you're going to clearly struggle to communicate the value of your vision to your team. Okay, so they're not separate problems. This is one problem that we definitely need to solve. And when we are scaling, it in itself creates complexity. In the early days, information flows informally, but as a team grows, informal communication can break down. In the early days, as a solopreneur, when you're creating content, when you're creating a plan of action, you know what you intended to say. And when you bring somebody else on board, you have to really work on your communication skills, because just because you understand what you intended by that particular email doesn't automatically mean the other person will. So you have to learn about each other's communication styles. And then if you scale as a company and more people come on board, that does become an issue. Meeting overload increases, fatigue increases, messages get diluted and productivity suffers. Research has shown that clear communication will increase productivity by up to 25%. So leaders who communicate well can boost productivity by as much as 72%. But 86% of employees and executives blame poor communication for workplace failures, and companies with a strong internal communication enjoy significantly higher employee retention. For example, are you having a high turnover of staff? Could it be down to your communication style? Not an easy question to think about, but perhaps it's one worth answering. And this is where we come back to the core foundation of everything that I believe in, that communication is not a soft skill. It's a commercial advantage. To lead at scale, we have to formalise our communication systems and establish regular channels for updates. Be clear about goals and expectations. If you're going to call a meeting, make it purposeful. Do not force people to commute into the office for something that could have been an online video call. Allow people to decline if their presence is not required. Clarity respects people's time. As a leader, we have to be visible and accessible. So authenticity here matters, and we need to share the context behind the decisions. Listen actively and encourage feedback. Like, I'm sure many of you listening will have had that situation where the boss comes down the stairs into the bullpen, has this brand new initiative that we're all very excited to launch, and you're just going to have to do it and deal with it, but doesn't explain why, what the point of it is, or what the benefit to everybody is. And, surprise, surprise, it fails because no one really understands what they're being asked to do. People grumble, morale declines, boss gets mad, project fails. Clear communication can solve an awful lot of workplace issues. We also need to make sure that we do create psychological safety, that people do feel safe in raising awareness of issues that they've spotted before they become problems. Like, if a member of the team thinks, actually, do you know what, we're overcomplicating this, it's a great idea, but perhaps it's not possible within the time frame we've set ourselves, that's something that's worth listening to, not reacting angrily to. When we're talking about external communications, we have to always put the customer, the client at the centre of that thought process. Transparent communication and frequent contact with customers creates a long-term relationship with them. And again, like I said in earlier episodes, they will become the best brand ambassadors that you couldn't possibly afford. When clients understand your values and your vision, their loyalty will increase. And it's a shift then from selling a service to leading a business. Confidence in pricing comes from clarity about your value. Confidence in leadership comes from clarity about your vision, and both require intentional communication. As women in business, we're often conditioned to soften our pricing, to understate our impact, and to minimize our leadership voice. But the research is clear. Value-based selling leads to shorter sales cycles and stronger loyalty, and clear leadership communication drives productivity, trust, and retention. Your voice is not just a marketing tool, it's a strategic asset. You need to use it intentionally if you want to grow and scale your business. Throughout this season of Cut Through the Noise, we've explored voice, branding, storytelling, and visibility. And today we've brought it back to its core, value and leadership. Because when we communicate value clearly, we sell with confidence. And when you communicate vision clearly, you lead with authority. And this series is designed for that reason, to help you think differently about how you communicate. And just like every episode of Cut Through the Noise, the idea is that we will give you practical insights that you can apply to your daily work in your business immediately. If you'd like to do more of this work and join our community, book a discovery call with me today at the link in our show notes. Join the Clarity Collective, where we can work in a supported and structured format to help you really boost your communications and lead at scale. Remember that it is a noisy world, and if you want your business to stand out, you need to communicate with credibility, clarity, confidence, and authenticity. If there's anything that I can help you with, email me on hello@thecommunicationscoach.ie or even visit the website, thecommunicationscoach.ie. Don't worry, all of those links are in the show notes below. Thank you for listening. It is a noisy world and there's an awful lot of podcasts out there, so I do appreciate you taking the time out to tune into us here, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to us on your preferred podcast app. It's a noisy world, and clear, confident and authentic communication allows you and your brand to stand out from the sea of sameness and cut through the noise.